graduate from the police academy as valedictorian, top of my class, navigate and make recommendations to him on where to steer the submarine to keep us on track. We're shooting countermeasures out. I remember hearing behind me over here, flooding, flooding. I look back and there's just water, just shooting in the boat, shooting a body out of the submarine into the ocean. Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm your host, Brent Baldwin, and the very first episode of the Brent Baldwin podcast. Before we dive to the heart of this podcast, I want to connect with you on an even more deeper level. Let's explore some of my past experiences, what's shaped me into what I am today. Start off with senior year of high school. I started volunteering at the fire department where I lived at. I just loved it so much. You know, what 16, 17-year-old kid gets to ride on a fire truck with lights and sirens and going to help people. So I did that. So when I was young, I wanted to be a doctor, and my mom worked at the bank at the time. Well, one of the firemen had went in there. She had mentioned to him that, you know, I wanted to be a doctor. Like, yeah, we do. Like, we run medical calls, and it'd be good, like, hands-on experience, get into the medical field. So I went to that meeting. It was like on a Tuesday or a Thursday. It was like training night. Sit down and watch like a PowerPoint presentation, do some training of our bunker gear, and just advance your knowledge and skills in firefighting and everything like that. After the training, everybody just shooting the shit or whatever. We ended up catching a call. I think it was a wreck or something like that. It was a wreck or a fire, car fire. And they're like, you want to go? I was like, what? So I fucking jumped in the truck with one of them. We went to the wreck, come back. No. I remember. Holy shit, I can't believe I forgot this. Rewind. So I went out early to this training. Before the training started, I'm just hanging out with everybody. They get dispatched to a plane crash. So I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, is this like normal? Is this like something that always happens? And they're like, no, jump in. So I jump in. It was fun. I was riding in one of the booster trucks. It was one of the other guys. It was a good time. He got on the radio and he was going down the runway because they had like crash landed over on like a pasture. But he was going down the runway and he was like, I'm clear for takeoff, blah, 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 on the radio. It was pretty funny. But there's no injuries. Pilot made it. But it was just crazy. That was my first call ever working for the fire department. Anyways, we get back. Everything's good. Do the training. And it was fun. You know, I got to put on like fire gear for the first time. And it was pretty wild. It was exciting. Something new to me. Well, after training, they were like, you want to stay the night or whatever? And I was like, what? And they were like, you can stay the night. I called my mom. And I'm going to stay the night here and then I go to school in the morning. So I did that. I went to school in the morning. And then the next day, that same guy that got me on, he messaged me and was like, you coming to the station today? I was like, we don't got training, you know, for another month. I didn't say that. That's just what I was thinking. So he was like, yeah, you can come on. You can come on to the station and hang out and we can go over like drills or whatever. So I went to the station, did that, and he's like, you staying the night again? They're like, we're about to cook dinner. And so I ended up staying again. Then long story short, I ended up just moving in. I moved like all my clothes in there. And then I was going from there to school and then back like all day. Every weekend, everything. I wasn't out partying. I was hanging out there. It was good. Well, after like the whole time I lived there, going through school, After I graduated high school, I went off to the Navy.
Attention, jump! Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your full name. I state your full name. Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear. That I
Did some crazy stuff. I was on 3 different submarines. I was TAD in Hawaii for a year and a half-ish. Most of that was underway. I was underway like the whole time. We came in contact with some enemy submarines, that was pretty wild and rare. It's actually more rare than most people think about. But it was a most near-death experience. Another time, my job was quartermaster, so I was standing watch, navigating. There's a pilot, co-pilot, and officer of the deck, and I would navigate and make recommendations to him on where to steer the submarine to keep us on track. One time I was standing watch. I remember hearing behind me over here, this dude was like, flooding, flooding. I look back. We're shooting countermeasures out for training. I look back and there's just water just shooting in the boat. Can you imagine? That shit was crazy. We're so many feet underwater. So many feet underwater, right? Water is just coming into the boat. And another episode, more into deeper details on why I'm no longer in Navy. Back to firefighting for a little bit. I'm hanging out with some of the cop buddies and stuff like that around. Working at the jail, I got in the hookup there. Started working at the jail for a little bit. And then some of the deputies were like, yo, you want to go ride out with us? I went, did a few ride outs, and I was like, yo, I can do this shit. I was like, I ain't sitting in here in the jail babysitting these fools. Yeah, people, they all make mistakes, trust me. So after riding out with them, I was like, I can do that. So I had my GI Bill from the Navy. I was on a discharge, so I still had that. So when I got out, I used that on the police academy, and I was working nights. So my schedule, I was working 5 days a week at the jail 1 week, and then 2 days the next week. So it was like Monday, Wednesday, and like Friday. And then Wednesday and Thursday the next week. Then when I got out of the academy at 5 or whatever it was, drive back to the jail that night, work all night, drive back to the academy the next morning. So I would go like 2 or 3 days with no sleep. You guys are going to get to hear even more about my time in law enforcement. I did graduate from the police academy as valedictorian, top of my class. Not trying to brag or anything. There's a lot more details of why and the reason I'm starting the podcast. I feel like people need to hear my story, and people have stories of their own that they should share. And that's another thing that I'm happy to share with you guys. I have a few guests in mind of who I want to have on the show. Big things are coming. I'm excited for the future of the show, and I feel like everything in my life has kind of pushed me here. The whole show is going to be based around, not really necessarily based around me, because I don't want it to be based around me. But I feel like I can provide value into people because of the firefighting and the police work. I've done construction work. I was in college, relationship advice. I'm a father, all across the board. I feel like I have a lot of experiences that I can share to everybody and value towards it, or inspiration to want to share their own story. Make sure you guys are subscribing. That way you can get notified when I do post the next video. Be doing 1 episode every week. Doing a video podcast, and it's also going to be available, where you get your other podcasts, audio podcasts as well. So I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long time, for a real long time. And all my buddies and friends have been telling me that I should do a podcast for a while now. 2024 is a year. I'm waiting to put it off and wait till, I have a bigger studio space, in which, once all the research I've done anyways, it doesn't make sense, because the best recording space is a smaller space or a cluttered space. No echo, but that's besides the point. But instead of waiting until I got what I wanted, to record in, what I felt comfortable in and stuff like that, I decided to just go ahead and do it. Because there's no reason to wait around, put it off. But I really do appreciate everyone that is already subscribing. We're already at like 103, 102 subscribers. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Some of the craziest things, or craziest experiences, I guess you could say, that happened in my life, I think about a lot. One of them, it's not super crazy, but it's not normal. You know what I'm saying? So when I was in the Navy, I had the pleasure of being able to participate in a burial at sea. So basically what it was is we had the ashes from a fellow sailor that was cremated due to another circumstance, cause. Rest in peace. But the ceremony underway consisted of shooting his ashes out of a torpedo tube in the submarine while we were underway. Shooting a body out of the submarine into the ocean was a crazy thing. Another experience of mine, while at the fire department at a young age, I witnessed a young female toddler that had drowned, that we couldn't save. We had worked on her for a while, and when the rest of the help had arrived, I was standing outside the ambulance because there's already so many paramedics in there, and I was one of the first ones on scene. But the mom was standing out there, and they told me to, kind of keep everybody like together, but give them space. She didn't know that, but I was standing out there, and the thing that constantly plays in my mind is she's like, "You're standing there not doing nothing. Tell me what's wrong with my daughter. Is she okay?" She's like, you're not fucking doing nothing. You're just standing there." But she don't know, we did CPR for a while, 20, 30 minutes before anybody else got there. That you think about, because you did everything you could and everything that you were taught and trained to do. But God has his ways and time for everything. I want to say thank you for everybody tuning in to the first episode of the Brent Baldwin podcast. Very exciting things coming. So everybody stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on the next one. See ya.